So when I got a chance to visit your place, one of the things I was struck by was the level of military photographs and everything in your room, and I didn't know the background of you guys. But I understand you were a Navy SEAL, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. We did that for about 9 years.
Wow.
Spent 13 years in the Navy and never, ever thought we would run a business. So it's been pretty awesome, though.
That's great. Were you also in the military?
I was not in the military, but I served at home. I did 3 deployments, married, and we had 2 kids along the way. So I feel like I did a little bit of my part.
You did your part, yeah.
I think she definitely had the hardest job out of the two of us.
Well, thank you for your service and for what you did. How did you get from Navy SEAL to this business? I didn't make the connection between the two right up front, but you explained to me some of the thoughts behind it.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think a lot of veterans really gravitate towards entrepreneurship because they love a challenge. And so that was one thing that I loved about it. And I caught the entrepreneur bug, probably in 2010, 2011 timeframe. I had about 3 years left in the military, and I was actually offered to be a partner in another business, my first business. And so as soon as I started doing that and I found the freedom with it and the challenge that it involved and just the promise of maybe possibly building something amazing, I was just like, I was all in, and I didn't really want to ever work for anybody else again.
Yeah. I can sympathize with that. You say a first business? I didn't realize there was a first.
Yeah, it's actually a really cool business. It's called Acumen Performance Group. It was about 6 Navy SEALs, 1 special boat operator, and then an Olympic sports psychologist. And what we were doing is we were taking the training from the Navy SEALs and we were taking it to corporations, sports teams, and stuff like that. And it was really fun, but it wasn't paying the bills. And so I knew I had to provide for my wife and my 2 kids. And so I think in 2014, I actually exited that business.
Okay.
Yep.
So you learned a little bit about scalability in that first business, that wasn't really scalable, unless you started finding other people out there and then trying to bring them in. But even then, you have to pay them a very high salary to be able to go forward and do things like that.
Yeah, they're actually still alive and they're actually doing pretty well. It just wasn't growing fast enough for us, and so we needed to look elsewhere. And that's something I think is so important to any future entrepreneurs out here. Mark Cuban says this in his book before Jen and I ever became partners with him. He says you only have to be right once. And I think that's one of the most important things that people can take away from this or from any successful entrepreneur. Normally, it's not their first, second, or third business that's even successful. They just, they see failure differently than a lot of us do. They see it as where the real gold and where the real lessons learned are.
And where did the idea for Bottle Breachers, like you were in that other business, where did it kind of pop up?
That was you.
Okay. So my little brother was a helicopter pilot in the Marine Corps, and he went on a deployment to the Philippines, and he brought me back a really generic 50 caliber bottle opener. And I thought it was one of the coolest gifts I'd ever received, and so did all of my buddies that came over to have beers with me. And they were always asking, where can I get one? Where can I get one? And I was like, I don't know unless you go to the Philippines. And so a couple years later, I had the idea to take this really cool but generic raw gift and really throw some love and some attention and some aesthetics into it. So I took it into my garage. I spray painted it black. I polished it, and I was at SEAL Team 3 at the time, so I took our Punisher decal and I put it on there. I took it to work, and my buddies just freaked out about it. And that's when I was like, okay, this is cool. Now what do I do with this? And that's when I recruited my wife here, and I was like, babe, because she was successfully running online businesses out of our living room. And I was like, babe, can you help me sell this? And it was funny because she's like, well, let me do some research and I'll get back to you. And then and she came back and she said, hey, we're going to sell on Etsy. And I was like, Etsy? What the hell is Etsy? Why not Amazon or something I've heard of? And she's like, no, listen to me. This is what we're going to do. And she was right. We started on Etsy, and within 6 months, we were doing $7,500 a month. And then We were actually watching the show, The Shark Tank, and we learned a tip from Kevin O'Leary just by watching the show about brand recognition. We knew we needed brand recognition on our product, so as soon as it left the package, people knew what the brand was. And so I sold my motorcycle, I bought our first laser engraver, and within a month and a half, the sales went from $7,500 a month to $22,000 a month.
Wow.
And that's when I got really courageous, and I tried to convince my wife that when we got out of the military in 2 years, we were actually going to sell bottle openers for a living. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
We're not selling bottle openers for a living. But, she stuck with me, and she's been so integral to our success, and I know that we wouldn't be here without her. And there's actually a couple of our employees. Our president, Nicole Mackey, where you at? Stand up, Nicole. Yep, she's pretty awesome. And then
Very
Aaron,
awesome.
Aaron, where you at? Stand up. Aaron's an up and comer in bottle breacher, and then Kelsey's around here somewhere. And the reason I point these folks out is because this is one of the most important things you have to know, is that you will never build anything great on your own.
Sure.
And if you don't, and I learned this in the SEAL teams, that was one of the first things they taught us, is that you're nothing by yourself on the battlefield. And you weren't even allowed to go to the restroom without your swim buddy 6 feet from you. And it's so true in entrepreneurship as well, because without these guys, we would be nothing.
Sure. So he comes home and says, I have the great idea with
The bottle openers.
yeah. And so what was your thought when that idea first came about?
I thought it was crazy. And but it was really, what inspired me is because I'm a numbers person and I have a business background, is the fact that,
You're a UA grad from
yes,
Heller?
UA grad
Yeah.
from Heller, and the numbers didn't lie. We were doing well, and that's another thing I wanted to share with everybody, is you don't have to have a lot of capital to start. He sold a liability, and he bought an asset. So he sold his motorcycle, and he bought an engraving machine. And what that did is, within a few months, that paid itself off almost right away.
Yeah.
We haven't yet bought him a new motorcycle, but possibly soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think she might buy me one of these days. So
Yeah.
I'm
So-
looking forward to it.
People think that you have to have a lot of capital to start, and you don't realize you have a lot of opportunity if you're willing to sacrifice. At the beginning of our marriage, we didn't have new cars, we didn't have a very big house, and it helped grow the company in the beginning, and it was just us.
Right.
And you seem to have done it a piece at a time, right? Because you did the engraver first, and what came next?
Well, then we bought 3 more engravers, and then we went on the show, The Shark Tank, and then we started buying big machines like CNC mills and CNC lathes and pad printers and all sorts of new stuff. And one of our biggest new acquisitions was actually a new team member. We actually just went to San Antonio and stole our new head of product development from another company, and that's what I keep going back to, is just constantly building that team and how important it is.
Now, you couldn't continue to do that from your garage, right? All those pieces of equipment?
Right.
So when did you move from the garage to something else?
Well, me and Jen decided that we were gonna make our lives as difficult as possible. And so as I got out of the military, we actually moved from San Diego to Tucson. We left the garage. We took 1 incubator space down where we are now in Exchange Place. And we got out of the military. We moved, and then we went on the Shark Tank all within about a 3-month period. And it was just
Wow.
bananas. But the cool thing about that experience is that we went through it as a family and a company. And I don't think that you can really grow as a person, an organization, or a family if you're never tested and if you don't experience any adversity.
Sure. Who was the Shark Tank that invested in you guys?
We have Mark Cuban and Kevin O'Leary.
Oh, both of them?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's great.
they're still
Okay,
on board.
just between us, what are they really like?
So
Don't say anything to anybody.
I know, we won't tell anyone. So Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, is truly wonderful in real life. He's a family man. He is very smart. I almost always carry a notepad whenever he's around, just because of all the ideas. The couple of times that he's visited has made suggestions that actually really helped us, and he has a great team. And Mark Cuban he has a lot more companies, a lot more investments. So though we have access to him, we work a lot more with his team. He has an accountant, and he has a web developer, and we're constantly seeking their advice because they're smart and very humble, hardworking people, his team. If you ever go to Mark Cuban companies in Texas, it's not fancy. It's old, and it's neat because it just shows that, look, if Mark Cuban can have an old building, I'm doing just fine.
That's no problems there.
Yeah, no problems.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I visited, I was struck by how much, actually, you have some of the products here, right?
Yes.
If you could just pull one of
Yeah,
those
go ahead and grab
out,
one,
and I just wanted to take a look. Right now,
I don't know what
the
color
one
that
that
is.
you gave me that's engraved, it's like a piece of artwork on our
Yeah.
sill back home. But
So we sell many products. So that was our first product. That's the
This
50
one here.
caliber. Yeah. So they're decommissioned recycled bullets, and so they're really cool man gifts. Men love them. We have different sizes. We have a 20 millimeter, and then we have all types of other. Right now, we're just basically, Eli's like, if this is cool, I'm going to turn it into a bottle opener. So we have frag grenades that are bottle openers. We're going to have a skull maybe for Halloween. It's just
Yeah, we've done a whole sports line too for
sports
people that
line.
like sports. Like
baseball.
our newest product that we're launching, I think in a week and a half, is the bottle breacher football. So basically,
It's like a
I
football
like to
that
say we're making
opens your
bottle
beer.
opening great again. And if you're into something, we will find a way to make it a bottle opener.
that's great.
Yeah.
And not just bottle openers, but we have barbecue tools, we have whiskey bullets, and at the end of the day, my biggest goal is to make the best made in the USA, better known brand in the world.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty big compliment. Last year, Forbes actually ranked us in the top 25, and they actually ranked us in number 13. So
Wow.
we've got a ways to go, but it's been amazing, and we're going to keep on pushing.
That's awesome. So when I was going through your facility, I was taken aback by the attention to detail that you did at every single step, and also that you had a lot of the equipment there. So maybe you could just discuss a little bit about why that attention to detail, why the obsessiveness for the quality. Like you're like almost Apple for bullets. You know?
Right. Well, I've never heard that comparison, but
That's
I like
good.
it.
I like it. I'm going to steal it.
Honestly, at the end of the day, nobody needs anything that we sell. And that's why it has to have so much attention to detail. What we really sell is people think that we sell bottle openers. We don't sell bottle openers. If you want a bottle opener, you go to Walmart and you spend $2.99. If you want a gift that you can give somebody that they'll never throw away and you can personalize a date or their name on it, you come to Bottle Breacher. And that's why our stuff has to have so much attention to detail, because we want it, our stuff isn't cheap. And there's a reason it's not cheap. It's made right here in the USA by Americans, and it's very high quality. And that's our brand, And so that's why we pay so much attention to detail to our products. But the other thing that you mentioned was bringing manufacturing in-house.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're really proud of, that we make a lot of our stuff and we employ a lot of Tucsonians. And it's really cool. I love a challenge. And that's one of the reasons that we manufacture so much of our stuff here. And it just goes with the brand, too. People love to, we found that a lot of people, enjoy buying made in America products because maybe it's their aunt that works there. Maybe it's their dad, that gets a paycheck from that company. And so we love the fact that we get to manufacture, because this country has always been important to me. I wouldn't have joined the SEAL teams had it not been. And so for me, this is just one more way that we can serve.
Yeah.
Also, it makes things fast when you're able to manufacture yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've heard another company we talked to was a Shark Tank company, and they're having problems. They wanted to test a product, and they said, well, it takes 6 weeks to make, and then we have to go visit the facility, and then it takes another 12 weeks. Like, we can make something, if we really wanted to, in a week.
Yeah.
And in another week sell at least a couple hundred and test the market. And that's what we do. We put it on Facebook or Instagram, and we say, hey, what do you think? And if people like it, then we make it. And if they don't, then we don't. And it's easy to test the market, and then we only make 100. It's Eli's crawl, walk, run. We make 100, and if they sell, then we make more. And if they don't, then we don't make more. And so we don't lose money that way.
You're an excellent example of market validation,
Yes.
because you validated the first one by just having it in front of bringing it in and having it in front of your colleagues and them going nuts.
Yeah.
And you going,
Yeah.
wow, there might be something here. Because that's the reaction you want from a marketplace,
Absolutely.
And we try to teach students that, but you really are a phenomenal example in the fact that you keep doing that. It's really impressed by that process. Now, how is it with the two of you working together and, being married together?
Wow, that's a setup right there.
You can answer that one.
For anybody out there that's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, it is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And if you want to make it twice as hard, 3 times as hard, go work with your boyfriend, your spouse. And it is absolutely difficult, and I don't honestly recommend it to most people, but we did it because we had to, and most people don't voluntarily change careers at 35 years old, and that's really what I did when I got out of the Navy. Wow. And so we banded together. We fought like cats and dogs for 2 years. I'm not even going to lie to you guys, but we're still here together, and I'm glad that we went through it together because it has made us stronger. So
I think it's brought us closer together.
Yeah.
Because we get to talk about our day and we work together, and then sometimes we don't work together. But we're really good with each other's boundaries, and if I want to talk about something, he talks about it, and if he's kind of done with the day, then we drop it.
we did strategically place our offices on separate sides of the building.
If he's
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't work by him.
So how do you do it at home then? How do you stop the discussion from going to work? Because I worked with my wife for about 5 years in a startup. So I'm curious to hear how you guys manage, even when you say, we're not going to do it, and all of a sudden, 20 minutes into a car ride, this thing slips in. How do you manage that?
You like that one?
I don't know. I don't think we have any rules, so to say. Like, we're really good about reading each other.
Yeah.
And so we both know, because we work every day together, how we're feeling. And he knows when I've had a bad day. That's one of the questions we ask each other right away when we come in home. How was your day today? And if I know his day was bad, I know well enough that if he's not ate dinner and rested, it's not good to ask a serious question.
Yeah.
So I'm
that's
very
a good
careful when.
Yeah.
She learned to read each other extremely
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
She's not nearly as careful as I am, though.
No, he just is like, hey, what do you think of this?
You're like,
Boy, I'm careful.
innovation. Again, another thing I think you guys excel in is there's this constant trying to do things that other people have just never done before, which is really what innovation, big innovation is doing things that leap and not just little incremental improvements. Because you could say, well, we're going to add a little thing to this, a little thing to that. But you guys don't. You're going to make a football that's a bottle opener. Where does that come from? How do you? Did you guys know it was always there? Geez, we're great innovators.
No, it actually comes from the military, and that's a great question. In the SEAL teams, you learn that your biggest asset is speed and flexibility, and that's what allows special operators to go into a very violent and dangerous area with just a few individuals and be so effective, because they're smart, they're well trained, they're equipped, but they're very flexible, and they always take the fight to the enemy, and they fight on their terms. And you can do that in business, and that's what we do at Bottle Breacher. We are always 4, 5, 6 steps ahead of our competitors. And there is risk involved when you move as quickly as we do, but that's where that strategy and mentality comes from. We want them reacting to us, not vice versa.
That's great. So what's kind of on the horizon out there? What are you guys thinking of in some of the next steps for the company?
Right, I think the biggest next steps for the company is we're actually looking at buying our first building, so we're really excited about that. Probably should know by Q1 of next year if that's going to go through or not, and get everything consolidated under one roof. We're also launching a lot of new products right now, and we might actually do our first Kickstarter here in about a month, just to kind of test something new out. And that's something we're really big on, is test price points, test customer feedback, test new product development, and just constantly test stuff. Because when you're in new product development and you move as fast as we do, you can think something is the coolest thing in the world, but when you put it out here to these folks, they might hate it. And they'll end up telling you with their dollars what they think of it. And so that's something that you have to swallow your pride as a new product developer, and you have to really listen to what these folks tell you with their dollars. And so we've got a lot of cool new products coming out, and we've also started writing for entrepreneur.com, which is really cool. And so, there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe for Bottle Breacher.
Yeah. Did you write your first article already?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
What was it on?
It was how to run your business like a special operator. Some of the same stuff we're talking about right here. Yeah.
And so, so you were used to in the military being part of a team and working in that way. At the time, you had graduated from Eller, and in finance, was it?
Public administration,
Public
actually.
administration,
Yeah,
okay.
something completely different.
Yes,
but
it's very similar.
Yeah.
But when you started hiring employees, that was the first time either one of you had ever done that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still really don't know what we're doing. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
But
that's what people think, that you have to be an expert, and you learn it as you go.
Yeah. And so what is like the big challenges that you found as you started hiring? What caught you off guard? What made you go, ooh, I didn't realize that?
I think one of the hardest things for me when you start hiring people is a lot of times we have a saying at Bottle Breacher, and that's it. Usually it's not the first person you hire. And it's unfortunate, but a lot of times, when you interview people, you always get their best face or what they want you to see. And then as they come in and they start working and they have to sacrifice, maybe a Saturday here, stay late here, you start to really figure out what people are made of and what they're all about. And it's difficult sometimes, and you have to be resilient, but you have to understand that sooner or later, maybe after the first or second person you hire, maybe it'll be the third or the fourth, but then you'll land on that one just solid person who does what they say, and they're totally accountable, and they can take ownership and run with something, and then, at least that one area is taken care of and secured. And so I think that was one of the toughest things for me, because I did come from the SEAL teams where if somebody told you they were going to do something, they did it, and you didn't have to micromanage them. And so, just dealing with stuff like that was probably the biggest eye-opener for me.
So finding those people that do what they say they're going to do,
Yeah.
and
It's
maybe
hard to
even think
find good
ahead,
workers.
so you guys don't have to be on top of that all the time.
Right.
Right, so that's one of the real challenges in doing that. I'm curious if you're out there looking at, because you are a recycle company as well, you recycle vast amounts of these bullets, and you actually ran out of the amount of recyclable material that you had to buy your own machine to do it. Yeah. Are you connected to the recyclable sustainability community in any way? Have you guys interacted in that space at all?
No, I don't think we have, but then again, we're always looking for new partnerships and new ways to, grow the business and, take care of the environment as well. So that's one thing that, it wasn't necessarily a focus when we started, but we realized how cool it was that we were actually taking something that would just be scrapped and turning it into, a really cool gift. So yeah. It's been pretty cool to see that as well.
I learned a new word today, upcycle. So what you guys do is upcycling,
right.
Which I thought so I thought of you guys as they were talking about the upcycling stuff. Right. Have you ever thought of going outside of either bottle openers or and other types of materials out there? Because I know your target market is the guy,
right?
Right? It's the guy. Have you chatted with different guy groups to just see what might be missing or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. We're constantly looking for new stuff. Like I said, I don't know if I mentioned, but we have whiskey bullets, we have wine openers, we have barbecue tools, we have apparel now.
That's right. The barbecue
so
tools are
we're
beautiful.
always looking for it. I think we're getting ready to launch some shot classes. We're getting ready to launch some humidors. We're actually making a cooler right now. I mean, we're never stopped. We're always going. And a matter of fact, I just had a conference call last week. There's a guy that owns a cigar factory that wants to make a bottle breacher cigar. So, I mean,
That's gonna be interesting.
we'll see what
Yeah.
happens with it. But like I said,
We want
we're
to be
always
one-stop shopping
Yeah.
for a woman buying for her guy or a guy buying for a guy in his life, just that place.
That's
it's like,
great.
it's hard because I know as a wife, like I even struggled buying gifts for him. I was like, I don't know. Like for a girl, I feel like it's a little bit easier. And so I hope that people see us as that place to go for man gifts.
Well, I thought what was interesting was I brought it to the office I had in the office, right? And because I thought my wife wouldn't want it in the house. I just
Oh, yeah,
assumed.
most people.
And so all of a sudden, I'm talking to my wife, and she goes, "What is that?" I said, "Oh, they engraved it. It's really beautiful." She goes, "Why not bring it home?" I said, "Well, it's a big bullet, and you don't seem to be the bullet type of person." And she goes, "Bring it home. I want to see it." And then we put it right up on the
Oh, yeah.
canister there. People can start who have
Asking
questions
questions?
line up, but
Okay.
we have our end of interview questions that we've been asking all the guests today.
Yes.
And so we will kick off with that. So, what is your favorite type of food?
Anything greasy. Fried pickles, pizza, hamburgers,
So greasy food.
greasy
And
food.
you both love greasy food.
Do you?
Yeah, I guess I like pizza, steak, and beer.
Steak.
That's a
good.
food, right?
That's a good menu.
Pop, I
I
like
thought
soda.
it was. We got some beer drinkers.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. No, I'm with you on the pizza,
Okay.
and I'm with you on the beer.
All right.
Okay.
You know, I'll have to substitute salmon in there. That's a bit quite, I know, but it's my thing. All right, what made you laugh the hardest most recently? We'll start with you.
I think it got us both. Just watching our daughters put on a talent show that was absolutely horrible. It was bad. It was adorable, but it was
Yeah.
horrible, and we were laughing so hard. They were so mad at us
Yeah.
because they had been planning it all day, and
Yeah. They're
one
10
of them
and
was
6,
one,
two
yeah, one of them
girls.
was playing the recorder, and the other one was doing a magic show where she put something behind the desk where you couldn't see it, and be like, "I made this crown, this red crown, into an orange crown," and she was just like, "You're like," and it was cute at first, but she wanted to do it like 75 times, and you're like, "Okay, it's enough."
We were crying.
It was
Yeah,
that funny that you guys were
Yeah,
crying. That's
yeah.
great. What book would you most recommend, regardless of the genre?
I would definitely recommend the Bible. It's a book I read every day, and whether you're spiritual or not, there's a lot of awesome stuff in the Bible. Like I've been reading Proverbs, and I think for people that, especially young people that are looking to become successful, it's a book about wisdom.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of my favorites. And then also I would recommend to these folks out here, if you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I absolutely recommend it. Like Jen told you earlier, it taught me how to buy assets and sell liabilities, and you know, that's been very, very successful in growing our business.
That's great. Had you read that book prior to launching?
No, sir, I
Pocket
had
Pages?
not. No.
Wow, but yet you had done that.
I love it, though.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because we went on his radio show, and
Yeah.
I learned that the author is a lot like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys need to meet him someday.
Yeah. He's an awesome guy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I just remember when I was in grade school, I would go grab in the library the Bible, because it was just this big book, had all these amazing pictures, you know, just like, you know, angels coming down and the
Stories.
fire, and it was just like such a vivid thing in doing that. What is the one thing you have never done that you would really like to do?
What's yours? I
Never
don't know
done,
yours.
really like to do.
I want to do more traveling. Most of the places that I've traveled to aren't very nice. They're kind of war-torn areas. So,
So, was some
Iraq?
fun?
yeah, you know, you still get to see like humanity and the beauty of some of these places, but it's not the same. So I think we need to do some more traveling. So
Yeah.
Like to where? Where would be the
Where
spot?
do you want to go?
I'd like to, I've always wanted to go to France. I've always wanted to go to Australia. I've never been to either yet, so.
I've never really traveled out of the country very much, just a little bit, but
What's that?
I've went to the Bahamas once, and that
I went
was
to
just
Hawaii last year.
Okay,
Well, that's
so
not out-
that's the U.S.
Still
though.
US, but
yeah,
it's
that's
out of
the
the-
U.S.
out of the
like,
continental
yeah,
US.
I want to go
A
like,
foreign land,
Yeah.
Hawaii.
yeah, I want to
It
go to
was
Europe.
a big step.
It was a big step.
Right.
Yeah, I want to.
Is it Paris or something like
I don't
that?
know. You want to go to Paris?
Yeah, I'd love to go.
And you was
What do you guys
about to
think?
say-
Do you think we should go to Paris? All right. I will. I'll take her then.
All right, there we go. What title of a real movie best describes each of your lives?
You want that one? Or...
Okay, so his is really good, and I could only think of one that who I am, and my ladies in the audience will laugh at this, but mine is Hunger Games, because I'm always hungry, and I bring my lunch to work, and they're like, hey, we're going to Chick-fil-A, and I'm like, what? Okay, so then I don't eat my lunch like every day. I always want to go out, and so that's mine.
That's taking the movie in a whole new direction.
It is.
That's
I know,
really
because I
impressive.
couldn't. He was like, how about she's all that? And I was like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, we laughed about it forever. So that's mine. Mine's Hunger Games.
How about yours?
I'd have to say Unbreakable, just because I've failed at so much. I've gotten my butt kicked so much in life, and that one thing I don't do is quit. And I think, for anybody that wants to be successful, that's probably the most important thing, is just resilience and learning to see failure differently than everybody else. Is just like where the real lessons are, and that's how you get the knowledge to one day succeed.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to go to the questions out here.
Right here.
Yes.
Do you think being a Navy SEAL has affected how you run your business? And if so, how?
Absolutely. It affects everything. I tell people all the time I don't have a fancy degree or an MBA. I just talked about team building and how we learned that in the SEAL teams and how I've taken that into Bottle Breacher. And I also talked about how important it is to stay on the offensive. And that's why we churn products out probably faster than any company I've ever seen, just because we always want to stay ahead of the competition, and we always want good content coming out to our customers. So they always come back and are wondering, hey, what is Bottle Breacher up to now? What gift can I buy for my dad for Father's Day? They're always coming out with something new. So those are two things right there that I took from the military into business.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Where do you guys mostly sell your product?
We're direct to consumer online, so we're about 99% online. We're starting to get into retail stores around the country, but we like being online because it's fast and somebody can buy at midnight. And we can reach everyone at all times, as long as there's an internet.
It's a really good model for those of you that are looking at maybe becoming entrepreneurs one day. And what we talk about a lot of the time is, if you're a direct-to-consumer online business, what it allows you to do is constantly fish in the ocean, because it could be, like Jen said, it could be 2 in the morning and you're in bed, and somebody in Scotland could be buying your product, or somebody in Kansas, or somebody in Florida, and you're not physically having to interact with that customer at that time. And it's such an amazing platform, and it's made it so much easier for entrepreneurs, like Jen and I, to build amazing businesses.
And what's the URL where they could purchase this?
Oh, it's just bottlebreacher.com.
Bottlebreacher.com.
Yeah, everything's Bottle Breacher. All of our handles and social media makes it easy.
Super.
Yeah.
Hi, so thank you for being here today. I actually love your guys' company. I remember watching it on Shark Tank a couple years ago. It was super cool. My biggest question really is, from the process of applying to Shark Tank, presenting, and eventually getting a deal since you guys were successful, what were some things that you really learned throughout that process that would help entrepreneurs in this room if they ever do that?
Was the question, what did we learn about the process?
Yeah, what did you guys learn throughout the process, from applying, since I know it's an extensive application, to preparing a presentation, and to eventually being in the Shark Tank?
I learned that it's more of a conversation in the Shark Tank. I was so scared to go in. I thought the music was going to start, and I thought I was going to fall over. And then we held hands, we walked in, and it was just like this. It was a couple people sitting, and we were standing. And it was so much more of a conversation. And I learned that also studying a lot really helped us. So I watched every episode, I took notes, I would write the questions that I couldn't answer so I could practice, and then we met with accountants and we practiced together, and I learned that was really important for us in getting in front of any investor, is knowing your numbers and doing your homework. And not only that, but I love talking about our company because it's who we are. It's like when somebody asks you your favorite food or favorite color. I went on thinking I wasn't gonna have the answers, and I was so nervous, and then it was very natural.
Cool.
Okay, so I kind of wish you didn't bring out the bullet because as soon as it came out, I instantly wish you didn't because now I want the damn thing so bad.
Yes, anyone who asked questions, we have one for you, so.
Okay. But I guess my two main questions
We
are,
have a bullet for them.
for me, I want
Yeah.
to know what the price they go for is and how long it should take to get to me once I order it.
Go ahead, Dave.
I didn't hear the question.
What's the price they go for and how long would it take to get to them?
Oh, okay. So they range anywhere between as low as like 20 up to 35. We have gift boxes, and honestly, it takes usually about 2 to 3 days for us to make it because we have to. It used to be quicker, but we have an assembly line, so to say, and then shipping depends what type of shipping you buy. So 2 to 3 days. But the most amazing thing about it is our customer service. If you were buying from us, you say, "Hey, my wedding is tomorrow." We could do it, and that's why I like staying small, is because I'm like, hey, this person wants it, we put the order first, we get it done, and we ship it out. So that's people want things now. They want to click one button and buy it, and they want it the next day.
That won't be the answer around Christmas. So if you want bottle breaching
yeah.
products, you got to buy them now.
Thank you.
Yeah, Christmas is crazy.
Nice sweatshirt.
All right, so you guys are talking about how you guys make all the different type of bottle openers and also like barbecue supplies. And I'm a huge sports fan, and I heard you guys saying you sell sports things, or you guys are going to sell sports
We
items.
do. We sell baseball, an 8-ball, a gear shifter, a bobber, and going to be a football.
The football's next, and then there's going to be a golf ball right behind that, and then after that there'll be a soccer ball and a basketball. And
So
it all takes time, but then
the
we got
licensing.
Halloween coming up, and we're going to make a really cool skull that opens your beer, and we make these little grenades that look like jack-o'-lanterns, and they're just, people freak out over them. And so, yeah, we've got a bunch of new stuff coming out, but all the sports that you like will be
Well,
coming down the
also,
line.
the licensing takes you have to be business. I'll ask Nicole in the audience, but I think it's at least 5 years before you can even apply for NFL. And then it took us 1.5 years to get Army licensing. We just got it.
Yeah, so if you want licensing on whatever football or baseball or whatever that we end up making, it'll probably take a while. So.
Yeah, you see, I don't drink, okay, but I just wanted to, so when you're saying about the football, is it gonna be like an actual football, or?
Okay. We need to show them a picture.
Yeah, I wish we could throw it up online. So basically, like, it's a 4-inch football,
That's not actual
and
football.
it actually breaks apart. And then if you don't even have to drink beer. If you like drinking bottled Coke, you can open your Coke bottle.
Okay, there you go, there you go, okay, that's
Actually,
better.
you know what? We need to do that.
But
Somebody,
hey, if you like buying made in the USA and supporting veteran-owned companies, we're your guys.
you know what we're
So-
gonna do? We want to do a thing on Instagram. This is something you guys should do: is test your audience and have fun. We want to ask our Instagram followers if you can make anything into a bottle opener, what would it be?
Right.
And we're gonna try to. I want to try to
that'd be
do
cool.
it. Like anything. What do you think it should be? And just try to make it.
That's really
Not sure,
cool.
did that
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
thank
like,
you.
no,
Awesome,
not really.
thank you.
But
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Hadley.
Hi, Natalie.
So I know you have beer can openers and like soda can openers. I was wondering if you had like wine openers, since my mom is really into wine, so there is wine
Natalie,
openers.
we've got you covered. just
Like-
go Google bottle breacher wine opener, and you will love it. We actually make it in Tucson, and it is amazing.
We have-
It took us 9 months to find somebody in the USA that would help us make that product, and it took a long time, but it's awesome.
Thank you.
yes.
Yep, thank you.
Here,
Who's
we
next?
needed something for the ladies.
Hi, I was wondering like what advice you'd give someone like as an entrepreneur since you guys started out on Etsy as far as pricing goes, since I know Etsy does get some of your profits.
Yeah, and that's what I have learned with Etsy, Amazon, selling anywhere but your site. It's the price of doing business. So the cool thing about Etsy is you're paying to be on a platform where other people shop. So then your site, if you're not popular yet, it's free. You don't have those fees, but it's not free. You have to pay for the platform. But what you want to do is you want to make your site where people go once you get big enough to where they know you. So maybe it's a year, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 5 years. So once we went on Shark Tank, we started to go away from Etsy because people now knew who we were. So we try to get them to our website much more than Etsy. So I say for people, start on Etsy. The platform's there, the keywords is there. You can advertise on there. It's this little hub. And they do Google AdWords, so they're advertising for you. But once you get big enough, then I suggest switching to your own website, and then that way people can start, like when you send a newsletter out, attract them to your website. Hey, the sale is here, but the sale is not on Etsy, so you have to come to me. And then people get to know you, and then you can switch. That's what we did. We switched over.
That's excellent.
Yeah, we're still on Etsy, but
Did that answer your question?
yeah. I hope
Yeah,
so.
that's pretty smart. Thank
Okay.
you.
Since you guys were so successful with Shark Tank, do you think you would be as successful as you were today if you didn't make
Great
it?
question. So when we went on Shark Tank, we had $840,000 in sales. So we were doing, I think the best month we ever had was $100,000 out of our little one-car garage shop. So will we be where we are today? I don't think so, but I think Shark Tank took us about 5 to 10 years ahead. So,
I'd say about, we're probably 5 years ahead of where we would have been had we not gone on Shark Tank.
yeah, and it was amazing, but I think there are some downsides. Now everyone's seen our products. We have a lot of copycats. The market's getting a little bit saturated, and that's why we're constantly innovating. And then not only that, but on Shark Tank, I gave away a little bit of Etsy secrets of things I did, and then people started copying that. And so it kind of like took away a little bit of who you are. I always say, and people don't like this or agree with it, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. So there's power, and especially in your life, and I let the speaker two before us, that she said, hold on, I lost my thought. I'm a mom, you guys, and I'm tired. She was saying, what was I talking about?
This happens all the time.
Life. It's real life with me every day.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, Shark Tank took the trajectory and just really rocketed it up.
Oh yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
There it is. And there it is.
Yes, okay, so what I was trying to say is what are your priorities?
Right.
So if your priorities, are you a mom or are you not going to be a mom? I mean, honestly, are you going to get married or you're not going to get married? Because your time is so valuable. So Shark Tank is amazing, and I'm so glad we did it, and I would totally do it again. But it took away a little bit of who I was, because I have to work more. So you have to figure out, okay, what do I want in life, and how big do I want to get? Because there's power in knowing, like, if we didn't go on Shark Tank, we would have probably had maybe 10 employees instead of 30. Things would have been a little bit slower, but we would have been able to provide for ourselves. At the end of the day, that's my priority, is to provide for us and our people that work for us. But some days is so crazy, and so I'm always like, careful. I'm the careful one. He's not.
Right.
I forget he doesn't.
In case you guys couldn't tell
Yeah,
that
sorry.
naturally.
That's true story,
Thank you.
true life.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I was wondering what you guys want to achieve in the next 5 years.
For me, I kind of talked about it a second ago. I really want to grow the biggest, baddest, made in the USA, veteran-owned company, period. And that's just from a professional standpoint. From a personal standpoint, I want to impact positively as many people as I possibly can. Whether it's, financially or just spiritually or whatever, because honestly, we only go around one time. We were put on this planet, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can try and help people out. You can be selfish, and for me, it's pretty simple. I feel like I've been put here to impact people in a positive way, and so I want to do that as much and as often as I can.
I think we have time for one more question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was looking at the clock the whole time, and so
Is it like red?
it was counting down, and so all of a sudden before I look, I go, oh, it's 4 minutes. Geez, how did that happen? I thought it was 1 minute left, and it was then started counting upward to tell me how much I'm over the time.
Oh, so we're in the red.
There you go.
All right, mine will be super quick. It's kind of a follow-up. So you guys emphasized a lot on how, your company focuses on gifts for men. In your future, do you think of maybe doing something more for women? I know you guys were talking about apparel, so maybe that will play a part, but maybe reaching out more to a larger market or a target customer?
That's a great point, and we actually do it. And believe it or not, there are women out there that think that bullets are cool, and they actually like shooting and stuff like that. So we actually have Tiffany blue, we have pink, we have purple, we have white. And we also, like you said, we have the apparel, and the wine opener was honestly for a lot of women who were telling us, hey, we love your product, we love the brand, but I don't drink beer. And so we always want to make the pool that we're fishing in as big as possible, but at the same time, just because There you go. Tiffany blue, ladies. There it is. So,
You know what, honestly?
and you should have heard the guys when we started making Tiffany blue ones and pink ones. They looked at me like, Eli, you've sold out, man. But you're right, it's smart. You want your demographic to be as big as possible, but at the same time, you don't want to lose, that brand recognition and just who you are as a brand.
Yeah, knowing your market. And we've
Yeah.
tested things, like even the sports line, it did great, but it didn't do as well as we thought, just because people are like, football, like, it's different. And you have to figure out who you are, and we've tested women's shirts, and they just don't sell as well as men's, and I think it's just because of our demographic, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like if Tiffany's, started carrying like, I don't know, combat boots. They could be amazing combat boots, but they probably, like us, they'd probably have a tough time pushing them out to guys. And so, I think the smart companies, they figure out what's our niche, and they really try and focus in that, in that space.
Area.
But then every once in a while, they'll test something new, kind of like we are with the sports line right now, because it's really not that far of a leap. Some people, some guys, some gals sitting around watching a football game, and they want a cool bottle opener. It's really not that far of a stretch. So,
Thank you.
So I'd like to thank David Schmitz for the introduction he gave me earlier. He's a wonderful person. I want to thank Jen and Eli. You guys are just spectacular. I am so impressed by what you've done and where you've gone to. I'm really fortunate to have met you. And thank you so much for being here today, and the audience for really coming up with such great questions.
Yes, very good questions.
Really good questions.
Yeah.
I wish
So
I could
thank
see you guys.